Yeah, we just found out that that trans shooter was exactly who we thought it was, Robin, whatever his name is. So you want to knock yourself out, go, there's an 11.5-minute just video of this lunatic planning this murder. And by the way, if that went live, why didn't someone else call the FBI before this shooting happened? Just asking. Newton's third law of motion. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Bolling's first law of Democrats. For every Trump policy the Democrats now resist, there's proof that they once supported that very same policy. As always, we've got the receipts. There are certain things that define the Democrat Party, certain things that come to mind: the party of violence, the party of lawfare, the party owned by George Soros, that sort of thing. But one of the things the Democrat Party owns and is so very good at, they're the party of hypocrisy. Like how the party of hypocrisy claims to be the party of women and yet condones having men use their bathrooms, their locker rooms, and play on their fields. Or the party of hypocrisy claims to be the party of equality and yet would rather see black men kill each other than rid the streets of D.C. of violent crime. That sort of thing. So after years of coming after the president and his associates through incessant and obvious lawfare, now that the tables have turned on their criminal law-bending ways, they are in absolute uproar.
So he sees this as an opportunity to again portray himself as the victim. This is classic Donald Trump. He spent most of his presidency portraying himself as a victim of the Russia investigation, certainly his impeachments. And now he's portraying himself as a victim of a runaway and politicized Department of Justice.
In a moment, we'll get to the stunning developments coming into the weekend, with FBI agents swarming around the home and office of former Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton. But first, the context. This didn't happen in a vacuum. John Bolton is on a long list of Trump critics who are now facing the wrath of President Trump and his Justice Department.
Jonathan Karl, ABC. Every single person who reveled in every bogus case against Trump, every member of the leftist propaganda machine, from the media to Congress, celebrated the obvious injustice against Trump. And now they're outraged that Democrats who thought their lawbreaking wouldn't be found out because they did everything in their power to try and stop the Trump presidency 2.0, they're now finding out that they will, in fact, be punished for their crimes, hopefully. In another classic example of Trump derangement syndrome fueled outrage, earlier this week, the president signed an executive order cracking down on those who burn the American flag. To be clear, the executive order does not make the mere act of burning a U.S. flag illegal. The president is saying that you cannot burn a U.S. flag, quote, in a manner that is likely to incite imminent lawless action or that is an action amounting to fighting words. Could be said that you burn a flag, I'm going to kick your ass, but okay, because we will, I will. But cue the Democrat outrage anyway. But what do we have here? We've got Democrat hypocrisy.
I hope, Mr. President, that we can pass a law that criminalizes flag burning and desecration.
It is the national symbol. The reason it is worth preserving is because it unifies this diverse nation. The flag's unique place in our national life means that we should preserve it against all manner of destruction. A statute making it unlawful to burn, mutilate, or trample upon any flag of the United States, period.
Those them. Who the hell did they become? The internet is such an inconvenient truth, isn't it? Remember when Democrats at least pretended to be patriots like that, when like old Joe Biden used to care about crime in America enough to co-author one of the biggest crime bills in the country's history back in 1992 with Bill Clinton.
Driving home, my staff who lives here in the Hill reminded me, don't stop at a stoplight until I'm out of town. If I see a red light late at night, since there's very little traffic, slow up at the other block so I never come to a full stop except in the middle of the block because of carjackings. Stopping at a light, people standing in a corner, walking up with a gun.
Where's that guy? You see, once upon a time, there was a president, Donald Trump. Democrats seemed to care about crime in America, carjackings in our nation's capital. Now it's purely fascist to do everything in your power to keep Americans safe.
I think Donald Trump and Stephen Miller and Trump's handlers thought that he would conduct some kind of Mussolini-style military march across the country, subduing all the local populations, but it's completely backfiring on them.
What a what a tangled web we weave when hypocritical clowns do deceive, like Dems, right? I suppose when the National Guard was deployed to New York City to help fight crime in the subways, well, was that fascist? Tim Walz? Or how about when Tim Walz had the National Guard out in the streets of his state, making sure that every single citizen stayed inside during COVID? You were on your porch, they were going to arrest you. Do you remember that? Or was that fascist back then, Tim? Or how about when the former dementia in chief, Joe Biden, issued severe preemptive pardons, including for his very own family in one of the biggest family corruption cover-ups in the country's history. And the media all but brushed it under the rug. Oh, but there's a juicy little flashback here, as always. Cue even more Democrat hypocrisy.
Have you ever heard of somebody getting a preemptive pardon who was innocent of all crime? Who's just an innocent person? Have you ever heard of that? Just somebody getting a blanket pardon and they're an innocent person?
But no, it's the president's own family. It's people that have been covering up for the president in addition to his own family.
Is there an innocent explanation for someone to seek preemptive pardons for family members? Would you do that if you knew you were innocent and just worried about outside forces?
The answer to that is going to be no. If you haven't done anything wrong, you sit there and go, what do you need a preemptive pardon for?
If he pardons people preemptively, he's essentially telling the public that these people have committed crimes. And we may not be aware of what they are, but the pardon is clear evidence that crimes have been committed.
We can do this all day. We can do this on crime. We can do it on pardons. Like I said, Bolling's first law of Democrats: for every Trump policy the Democrats now resist, there's proof that they once supported that very same policy. I'm sure there's plenty more of that to come. And no doubt we'll be here to point it all out with receipts, and always will do that. All right, folks, we'll be back 2.5 minutes or so, plus or minus.